Thank you all for joining us. This is the Meet the Candidates Forum for the 2020 Board of Elections here at K Hovnanian's Four Seasons at Beaumont. Going to go over the agenda real quick. So we have the candidates here with us online and on the phone. Wanted to go over the explanation of the voting process. So all of the ballots went out on Thursday and Friday of last week. They will be opened by our 3 inspectors of election on May 11th and 12th, with the annual meeting being Thursday, May 14th. There is cumulative voting, so there's 5 positions open on the board right now. There's 4 positions being vacated by homeowners where their 2-year term is up. And then the builder representative has resigned, so his remaining 1-year term is also open. So the top 4 vote getters of the 10 candidates will be elected to a 2-year term, and the 5th highest vote getter will be elected to the remainder of the builder's 1-year term. And that way we'll be even, in even years, we'll have 4 positions open going forward, and in odd years, we'll have 3 positions going forward. There's also the minutes that are to be voted on, and the tax issue as well. And with that, we have Robert Allen with us, Pete Antoine, Lila Bonner, Jolene Cooley, Kathy Craven, Alan Coblin, Gracie Luna, Barbara Miller, and Larry Workman. So each candidate will have 3 minutes for an opening statement. After that, there were 2 questions that multiple homeowners had emailed asking about. So each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each of those 2 questions. And we'll go alphabetically from Robert all the way up to Larry, and then back down from Larry to Robert for those 2 questions. We have questions submitted by homeowners back here, which will be a random draw of a name and a question. And then the candidates will have 2 minutes as a final question or closing statements. So with that, we'll start with Robert Allen with your opening statement.
Good afternoon, everybody. And preparing for this, I started noticing I use the word I a lot. I just want to make it clear I am not an I guy. And I would like to apologize for and beforehand. So with that, I'll give you a brief background of me, my personal life. I've been married to my beautiful wife, Kathleen, for almost 30 years now. We moved here from Mission Viejo in South Orange County about 3 years ago, and we live on a fantastic street and fantastic neighbors that we call friends. We don't call them neighbors anymore. They're our friends. So back in the day, I was born and raised on the east side of Cleveland, Ohio. I'm a college graduate, and I'm also a U.S. Army veteran. My experience in life has been starting with the homeowner associations. I was a board member of the Majorca Homeowner Association in Mission Viejo. I served on the board as a board liaison for the Security and Safety Committee, which I once chaired. And currently I am the neighborhood watch captain for our street. I have worked and I am working at Home Depot for the last 7 years. And I do work at the Beaumont Home Depot. This and my former work experience, whereas I dealt with credit and sales, have given me not only how to talk to people, but more importantly, to listen to people. My beliefs in the homeowner association are strong fiscal responsibility. And what this means, reserves at 100% or more. I like to refer to it as our rainy day fund, as you never know what's going to pop up or when it will pop up. Cohesiveness among the board members is very important. This doesn't mean we always agree, but it means we're able to work together for the common goal. And my decision making will be based on not what I want, but what is good for the community. So in conclusion, I want to thank you for listening to me. I would greatly appreciate your votes and your support, but if you choose not to, please be sure to vote. It's very important to our association and it's very expensive. So thank you and be safe.
Thank you, Robert. Next, Pete Antoine.
My name is Pete Antoine. My life objectives are to protect and to serve, to lead by example and wisdom, having good common sense and good judgment, compassion, all of which I feel are asset to the board position I seek. I'm a veteran of 2 wars, Vietnam and Desert Storm. I'm a retired U.S. Air Force. I have strong leadership qualities as a result of my public service, vocation in law enforcement, probation department, and chair of the United States Postal Service. The words I live by are found in Matthew 7:12. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Some of the principles I enjoy living by and enjoy encouraging others to also do likewise is not to be afraid to try new things. Be honest and keep your promise. Be yourself. Learn from mistakes. Don't keep doing the same thing over and over again expecting a different result. Laugh every day. Respect each other. Embrace differences. Be thankful. Be kind with your words. Always tell the truth. Do your best. Have a sense of humor. Show compassion. Be grateful. Never give up. Love each other. And above all, remember this: do unto others as you will have them do unto you. I appreciate this opportunity of running for the board. I've lived in the community for about 14 years. I've seen many growth in the community, and I've seen the camaraderie among the homeowners, which makes it an outstanding place to live. The city of Beaumont does a wonderful job with the police department. Gang graffiti is at a minimum. The gang task force they have in place seem to operate very well. I believe in strong security. I believe in protecting and serving. The opportunity to serve you will be one of my highest values. Thank you very much for your support. God bless you.
Thank you, Pete. Let me unmute Lila. Hi, Lila.
Hi, my name is Lila Bonner. I'm a candidate for the election. I would like to share a little bit about myself. My husband and I lived here for 4 years in May, here at Four Seasons. I am retired. I'm running for the board because I care about the safety of our community and I have a desire to help. Running provides me an opportunity to learn how an HOA operates. It will increase my knowledge by learning about the bylaws and the CCRs, and I would like to become a positive influence in our community. I believe a good director listens to homeowners' wants and needs. They should be objective, open-minded to change, and is direct and honest. My strengths are honesty, integrity, sincerity, being empathetic, and objective. My experience consists of working together as a team, collaborating to carry out the duties, to make decisions. My other experience is involved in negotiating contracts and reviewing policies. Some of the goals that I have would be to enforce the rules and the covenants, to preserve property values, maintain financial stability, establish strong financial oversight through the Finance and Budget Committee, promote and exercise transparency, which is openness and honesty to me, foster communication, where I really believe that residents should have a voice and involvement where their concerns are heard and addressed. Also to foster communication as well. We live in a beautiful community that is diverse with residents that are from all walks of life. This is our community and our home. Help me make a difference with your support and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Lila.
Thank you.
Jolene.
Hello, my name is Jolene Cooley. I am the current CFO of the K-Hub Four Seasons Board. I've appreciated the opportunity to serve you. I was also previously on the Finance Committee. I have been in the Beaumont community for 3.5 years. My husband and I moved here to retire and be closer to our children in Southern California. I remember the first day we drove through the gate and I was just awed by the beautiful community and all the beautiful, beautiful scenery. And I thought, I really want to live here. And I still feel that very strongly. It is a very beautiful community. In my time on the board, my background involves accounting and finance and budgeting and auditing. And I spent my work years auditing major colleges and universities, the court system, and state government entities. And I've had an opportunity to really see how things operate. I also, when I was in graduate school, while I was getting my my MBA, I worked and did the financial statements and for a community HOA that was maybe about half the size of this community. So it gave me some experience with that. In my time on the board, I've been able to really work with the finance committee to keep our investments strong. We have managed to increase the percentage we get on our investments from 0.6% to about 2.3% in the time I've been on the board. And also, I've had a chance to really look at some of our, really study our financial statements and really understand the financial position for the community. I also strongly feel that 100% reserves are necessary to keep us beautiful and protect our home values. I would much rather have people pay $1 or $2 a month now than have some horrible time in the future where they have to come up with an assessment to pay for things that we could have paid for as we went along. I think this community has been very fiscally well operated and our financial position is very good. I also strongly feel about the balance of giving my duty to all the residents, to give them an opportunity to express their opinions and their feelings and concerns. And I always strive to hear everybody's opinions before making any decision. And I spend a lot of time researching and making sure that we are doing the things that will really help our community. I think it's important that we communicate with the community, and we have tried to build that communication strongly through a lot of different ways, from our website to our breeze, to our daily reports, to mailings, to posters in the lodge, to many other ways. And if there is any other way that anybody can think of that we haven't come up with, I would greatly enjoy hearing from you. That we can always improve anything here. We work together as a board to make things good for this community, which is important. I love all my neighbors and friends and the people I've met here very much, and I really enjoy living here. And I would appreciate the opportunity to be on the board for the next 2 years. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jolene. Next is Kathy. We're still, as much as we do Zoom, we're still learning parts of it as we go. Hold on one sec.
You had Bob, Eric, the whole time you've had Bob Allen's picture up.
Is he still up or is it back to you?
Now it's back to you, but none of the rest of us that have spoke were on the screen. Only Bob was there while we were talking.
How about now? Is it Kathy on the screen?
No,
No?
It's you.
Still me. Okay. Well, Kathy, you're unmuted.
Okay, I can go ahead with it.
Okay.
Okay, hi, I'm Kathy Craven, and from the time we moved to this beautiful community 3 years ago, I knew I wanted to become involved. I ran for and won a district delegate position 2 years in a row. I became a Neighborhood Watch block captain and joined the Neighborhood Watch Steering Committee. I currently sit as the co-chair for the Safety Committee. I joined these committees so that I could better understand how our community is run. As a director, I want to ensure that everyone in our community is aware of current issues and provide transparency into how decisions are made and why. I would like to see much more community involvement and increase attendance in our monthly board meetings because communication is the key. There are many residents who are unable to attend day meetings, so as an option down the road, I would like to see quarterly evening meetings. Even though we provide a YouTube video of the meetings, active participation promotes more community involvement, awareness, and provides the ability to voice an opinion. I also would like to make it my goal to respond to any questions asked to me in a timely manner. I have spoken at both the Board of Directors meeting as well as any of the ask, insert the board member in their meetings, and never heard anything back. I will work to not let your questions go unanswered. Our finances are something each and every one of us should be concerned with, as it is incumbent upon the Board of Directors to do everything possible to preserve our property values while sustaining financial stability. Since this is the first year that K. Hovnanian will no longer provide any funding for repairs, we need to be financially secure to avoid assessments in our HOA members, many of whom are on fixed incomes. I am a strong proponent of keeping our reserves over 100% to ensure we are able to fund repairs as our infrastructure ages. Some of the items the new Board of Directors will be asked to carry out are possibly reslurrying our streets. The new roof has already been taken care of, but replacing furniture in our game rooms, etc. I also believe any spending should be addressed on a case-by-case basis. To benefit our community, I would like to utilize my 37 years with Verizon as an account manager for large business customers, ensuring adherence to contracts and responding to RFPs, requests for proposal. Additionally, I managed a team of 20 to 25 employees and ensured budget targets were met and in a professional workplace. I also worked with the California Public Utilities Commission and appeared before the Nevada Public Utilities Commission to answer customer concerns. I would like to share some things about myself on a personal level. More recently, I became certified by the state of California as a domestic violence advocate and volunteered at a domestic violence shelter in Orange County. I raised money and participated in a 2-day marathon and a half marathon. Am I done?
Yeah. I don't want to cut you off mid-sentence, but yeah, if you can finish.
Okay, I'm done with the Avon Breast Cancer Walk for 5 straight years. I look forward to earning your vote for the Board of Directors and bringing about a positive change. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. All right, let's see. All right, Alan, you are.
Oh, lucky me. Ready?
Yes.
Okay, well, my name is Alan Koblin. My wife and I have been married about 35 years, give or take, I'd say. We moved from La Cañada about 2 years ago to this absolutely fantastic place, and are looking forward to staying here for another 35 years with our fingers crossed. Rather than repeating the comments that several of the other candidates have made, let me just say, I agree with most of what they say. I too am totally dedicated to this great community we live in. But before I say anything else, I'd like to thank all of the other candidates who've shown their commitment, their dedication, and their desire to keeping this community a strong and healthy one as it is. I think having 10 candidates for 5 open positions shows great involvement, and I think it's really a great compliment to everyone. So thank you, everyone. What I bring to the Board of Directors is an extensive business background, having managed both commercial and residential properties. I've even managed a property management company. I'm presently involved with the Beaumont Chamber of Commerce, as well as being on the Economic Development Committee with the City of Beaumont. And I'm working, although only part-time, as a commercial real estate broker. My work experience combined with local involvements gives me insights about the growth that the local community has and how it will and is having an effect on us. I think that a board member should be someone who knows how to run a business, as well as develop and strengthen our relationships with other community organizations and local governments. I'm not going to move. If I don't win this election, I'm stuck here. I'll get more involved in it. And I thank everyone for taking the time to watch this presentation. My heart is in the right place, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Al. One sec. Gracie,
Yes,
are you ready?
yes.
All right.
I don't know. These are really hard acts to follow. I too want to thank everybody. You've said a lot of what I was going to say. I'm just going to add a few little things in here. My name is Gracie Luna. My husband and I moved to this beautiful community 11 years ago, and largely in part for the diversity of our community. Our community basically is comprised of people with a variety of different personalities and backgrounds. And that is a really fun and enjoyable thing because we have so many different cultures here and so many different things we can do to enjoy everybody and their culture. I'm just going to list, and I'm using the word I also, and I apologize for that, but I'm going to just tell you what I think makes an effective board member. Number one, I believe in being very fair. I think any board member needs to be able to set aside personal relationships and biases. I know that I can make objective decisions and set an example for our community just by my own actions. I feel that a board member, and I know that I am detail-oriented, that's extremely important. My background, and I'm deviating just a little in detail orientation because my background, I retired out of a large defense corporation. My job was to negotiate government contracts. I'm extremely knowledgeable with working numbers. I worked for the United States Army, and the vast experience that I have of dealing with the Army and the hierarchy in the military has given me, which I believe, excellent interpersonal skills, which I will use to benefit in general and in particular, the Four Seasons community. I am also adaptable. I think when you're on a board and there's some better way to do something that will benefit our community, I am open to change as long as it is for the good of our community, as long as it's for the good of our community. And I do think that anybody on the board needs to be open to change again for our community. I am thick-skinned. Anybody that knows me, I don't take things personally at all. I know disagreements are inevitable. I've seen how our board members have been in the past. People come up to them, they yell at them, they scream at them. But I am very thick-skinned, especially in working with the Army and the military. The board can't afford, though, to have any member who's vindictive, biased, or petty. And I have seen this in the past, and I hope that we don't have this moving forward. Last but not least, transparency. I am very, very open for transparency. I believe that when board members readily share information with our community, the respect for our board will exponentially increase. In the past, our board has not been respected enough, but I think a lot of it has to do with transparency. I do believe that boards should never get into the habit of operating behind closed doors unless obviously there's something that is key to confidentiality.
Gracie.
So in closing, I would like to let everybody know that I will make sure that the community runs smoothly and any rules and guidelines will always be in the best interest and ultimate peace and enjoyment of all of our residents. And adding a couple little things in there, I too am a college graduate. I believe our reserves should be always above 100%. Last but not least, please vote. And I would appreciate your vote and know that everything I do will be for the benefit of our beautiful community of Four Seasons, Beaumont.
Thank you, Gracie. Hold on one sec. All right, Barbara, can you hear me?
Hi, Eric.
Hi there.
Yes, I can.
All right, you're good to go.
Okay, thank you. This is Barbara Miller. I moved to Four Seasons in '08, and I have been extremely happy with the living conditions here, our amenities, our facilities, and our beautiful area. I've been active in our community, volunteering as inspector of elections, fall and spring boutiques, tennis board, contact person for pool volleyball, ad hoc committees in the capacity of chair or member at large, and my most time-consuming volunteerism has been with rules and regulation. I feel that I am ethical, dependable, exhibit good listening skills, detail-oriented. I encourage open discussions. I try to have patience and good organizational skills. My background has been in the medical field, as in college, a business major, and then subsequently then nursing studies. I have, within that, dealt with the contracts with the private PPO, work comp, and negotiated contracts then for the physicians. I look forward to continuing my volunteerism on the board. I would like to see rules and reg reinstated personally. I feel that it's an important asset to this community. And that is about all I have to share at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Hold on. Larry, are you?
Up to me. Last but not least, Larry Workman. I've been a resident of the committee for about 6 years. During that time, I've been a leader of the computer group and have held monthly meetings and some evening classes on how to use the website. I was involved in redesigning of the website and currently a member of the communications board, insisting on coupling the website and the Breeze magazine, making them cohesive. I have over a decade of experience as a senior staff of over $100 million international corporation, and I've been familiar with the decisions and repercussions that are necessary as a board director. My skills include marketing, customer service, product liability management, insurance companies, litigation, maintaining gross revenue, and extensive customer problem solving and service. So, and I've also been a member of a HOA of my previous community. What I'm looking for in the community is I understand, or we all understand, that we are no longer a marketing asset of KHOV. We need to transition into a private community, and by doing that, we're going to have to make some changes through a lot of the programs and situations that we have. We need to keep our reserves above 100% to prevent problems in the future. And we also want to, as a board member, we want to improve transparency to eliminate some of the past communication lapses that have resulted in events and amenities that have been instituted without community, full community knowledge. I believe that we need to incorporate surveys, evening meetings, and specific agenda notifications on the board meetings. One of the things that a board of directors is responsible for, and the board of directors of an HOA are basically parallel to the board of directors of a corporation, is that it's the duty of the directors to supervise that the committee's management are functioning correctly and at the same time looking for the welfare of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. So let's see here. One sec. All right, so the first question that is going to be asked of all the candidates. And we're going alphabetical, so we'll start back up with Robert. First question is for each candidate. Are you in favor of changing the guest policy? And if so, how?
The guest policy is pretty open book right now, and it allows almost everyone to get in there. At the previous association I lived, we were allowed to have X amount of permanent guests. And these are, whether it's a vendor, a family, or friend, or whatever. And that limited who could use the permanent guest and just enter anytime they wanted to. The other system for the daily guest works pretty well. I've used it on the computer. I've gone in there, I put in the person's name. The person has been allowed to come in and leave. I've never given out a code. That should never be done, but that's the person that does it, and you can't slap everybody on the hand. So that's pretty much my position. I would limit the number of permanent guests that's allowed.
All right. Thank you, Robert. One sec. Pete, do you need the question was, are you in favor of changing the guest policy? And if so, how?
I've lived in the community approximately 14 years, at which time we've observed the 6 guests per household rule per family. I'm not opposed to that. However, I do believe that no guest should have priority over the homeowner. The clubs and groups should police their guests.
Okay. Was that? Thank you. So next would be Lila. Hold on one sec.
Hi, I do believe that the guest policy should be limited. Although we've only been here 4 years, but since the 4 years that we have been here, there have been people that have managed to come in the community that is not a guest because residents have given out their passcode. And to me, that defeats, what security we can have in this community, which is important to me and hopefully to others as well. So I think in talking with the board as a team, other, solutions should be discussed on how maybe we can keep that rule and policy where, the guests are limited and people do not pass out their code for other people to get in here.
Thank you, Lila. One sec. Okay, Jolene. Same question.
So as many of you know, since I'm currently on the board, this was a very much a hot button issue about how many guests should be allowed in our community. I personally am concerned that we allow our homeowners first opportunity for any of our events. That's the one thing I was most concerned about. As far as how many guests we have in this community, I think as a member of the board, it is my position to listen to all sides of what people's feelings are, along with surveys and different information, and try to determine an answer to that question that most people in the community would be happy and feel comfortable with. I'm always willing to listen to all people's feelings and concerns about it and hopefully make a decision that will fit the majority of our homeowners. We currently have 6 people for things like our family and our homes and the pool, and we currently have a guest policy of 2 guests for our clubs and groups, and that some people are concerned with that. My position would be that if it wants to be changed, then people need to re-look at it, re-examine it, and try to determine what will work best for all in our community.
Thank you, Jolene. One sec. All right, Kathy.
I believe that our current guest policy with 6 people to come in is perfectly fine. I believe that we, as residents, should be able to share our amenities with our family, grandchildren, kids, whoever comes in to visit. I think that, I know I have done it. I've had 6 people at the pool, in the bistro. We've played bocce ball. We've been at, played shuffleboard. So I think 6 people is perfect. I agree with the comments that we do need to know who's in our community. I think that our security should be first, meaning that we should know when guests are here. Having them come through the front gate is great. I believe that, you know, no one's had any problem getting anybody listed to come in. I think that this really was never up for debate for change before, and I think it's perfectly fine where it is. I know in the past, I personally did get up to the podium and speak, and I spoke about the guest policy as far as groups were concerned and clubs. And right now it's 2 people. If that's working out, then there's probably no reason to change it. I think if there's a problem in any of the groups or clubs, then that's when we go back and readdress it. If homeowners aren't coming first to go in and partake in any of the things that we have to offer.
Thank you, Kathy. Alan.
Well, I think the policy is fine the way it is. However, I think when it comes to event activities, I think the homeowners need a preferential treatment. We're the ones paying the bills, and we're the ones who live here. If people want to have more guests come in, they can, excuse me, they can anticipate that and make an application to the management company for an exception. Otherwise, I'd say leave the policy the way it is. It seems to be working fine.
Thank you, Alan. Hold on one sec. Okay,
Okay.
Gracie.
Okay, in regards to guests, I believe that we have a list out at the Guard Shack where some people have on their permanent guest list 15, 20 people. That's a fact. I think that what should be on a permanent guest list is your family members, somebody that is called in an emergency. And if you have outside guests coming in, they shouldn't be actually on your permanent guest list. I believe they should have to call you, you call, and you have them come in that day. The guest policy of having 2 people as a guest per household for the clubs and groups works very, very well if you self-govern it well. I, as most of you know, am president of the largest club at Four Seasons, comprising of approximately 275 members, and that's the Wine Club. I self-govern that club. There has never been a time when we have ever had to turn a guest away to accommodate a resident, because every single month, 275 people don't come to the club. So there's always room for those 2 guests. And I direct this mainly for the single people. We have a lot of single people here. They should have the right to bring 2 guests to any club or group. And if this does impede our residents from enjoying the lifestyle here, that's a different matter. But so far, I don't believe that's happened. It certainly hasn't happened with the Wine Club. And I also run a billiards group, and we have never had more than any guest than residents in our billiards group. So yes, I think that the 2 guest policy works, and self-governing of the clubs and groups, we have never had a problem with this at all. So no, I don't think it should be changed in any matter, shape, or form, as long as it works well and you know how to self-govern. That's it for me.
Thank you, Gracie. Barbara,
Yes.
you're there.
Okay. My feeling is that there's still some confusion as to the guest policy. We have guests come in that are family and friends who come in, and they're on maybe our permanent guest list at the gate. I think what we're talking about are guests that are participating on a regular basis with our clubs, groups, and classes that are maybe taking a spot for a four-season resident. So my feeling is to limit the number of regular outside guests to the club, group, and class. They need to be self-governed, and if they are, that's great, where no four-season resident is denied the activity of a group, club, or class.
Perfect. Thank you, Barbara. One sec, Larry. Okay. Oh, hold on. Larry.
Okay, I think, first of all, I think the guest policy, as it's been stated, is a three-pronged problem. And I think we need to address all three prongs. One of them is the front gate. The other is what is considered guest in your home. And the third is your clubs, groups, and classes category or activities. All in all, I think the rules that we have currently are reasonable and probably good. However, I think there needs to be better or tighter control on those rules. I know that there are people that are getting through the gate that whether they're listed as permanent guests or permanent vendors or whatever it is, they're getting through time and time again without the proper authorization. I think the self-governing part of clubs, groups, and classes is probably as good as we're going to get, but I think there should be some mandate where the club leader has a responsibility to do the governing. Right now, I don't see anything that indicates that anybody would be in charge of governing and controlling these groups. I think we need better management of them. The permanent guest program that we have, I think pretty much like Bob stated at the beginning, it should be limited and maybe even renewed on an annual basis. You have to renew the permanent members that you have as guests. So that's kind of my feeling. I think it's a okay rule. I just think it needs to be managed better.
Okay, thank you, Larry. And so the second question that is going to be posed to all candidates, and we're going to go back down. So Larry, you're still on for another minute or two, actually. So the question is, what is your position on the canine corral?
I have no problem with the canine corral. It's a interesting asset that has been brought into the community. My problem is more in how it arrived and how it became an entity within the community. I don't believe that it was brought into the community with full knowledge of all the residents. I think there were some problems that was brought up by a small group that became very active and got it, even to the point that it's put in a position, physically in a position that I think is not the best in the world. I'm not even going to worry about the homeowners that sit behind the place. I'm worried about the people that are having to walk up and down the hill because they have to park either at the lodge or around the corner, or once they're in the corral, they start rolling down the hill into the brush down there. So my concern is how it became, and not whether we should have a canine corral.
Thank you. Hold on one sec.
You want me to start, Eric?
You can now, yes.
Okay. This is Barbara Miller. I happen to have been on the Canine Committee as a representative from Rules and Reg in the very beginning. I do not have an animal, so I have no personal interest in it. However, my main concern when Martha Baumgartner and the others were discussing the rules and the guidelines for the corral was that most homeowners have not informed their insurance carrier that they even have an animal. And this was one of my concerns, that not only does the homeowner have insurance, but they have informed that the type of breed of dog that they do have is accepted by their homeowner's policy. It is strictly hearsay, but I overheard that the board kind of accepted this second location without informing the people who live above the canine corral area that the dog park was going in there. And I don't think that was maybe handled the best way it could have. The original location with the easement seemed to be ideal, but apparently that did not go through, so they went to a second location. I also see a problem with parking. There really is no place to park, and if there is an emergency, how do you get back to your car quickly, or how do you resolve an issue? That's all I have, Eric.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. Gracie.
Okay. Eric, just for 1 second, I want to go back real quick, if I can, on the clubs and groups self-governing. I just want to reiterate, and I'm not sure if I made myself clear on this, that I fully believe that a resident should have first course of coming into any group, class, or club. So I just wanted to make that real clear to everybody, even though I do self-govern 2 clubs, or a group and a club. Getting to the canine corral, I totally agree with everything that Larry and Barbara said on this. This, I felt there was a little bit of a transparency problem. I try to keep up, I try to read, I look, I hear, I listen, and this came about very quickly in an area that, to me, is not great for liability. And when I say liability, you have it set off on the side, which is true. Again, the liability of a dog being hurt, an individual getting hurt or bit by another dog, it's great liability. But to get that person to a car where I see now that they will have to park up at the summit, we have a lot of other activities going on at the summit. So the parking is not ample enough for a canine corral. I agree. I have talked and listened to some very unhappy residents that live above that canine corral. They didn't buy into a canine corral, nor were they told about it when they did buy in, by the way. That's what I've heard. Again, it's hearsay. I agree with you, Barbara, that there is hearsay going on. My biggest thing with this was the transparency problem. Again, I saw it go up. We have benches there. Somebody's going to lean forward on that bench, and you're right, they're going to fall. A dog pulls them. They just may roll down. It's not a flat area. And so as far as the canine corral, yes, it would be nice that we have something that everybody can agree on, but you're never going to please the majority of people, or even half the majority here all the time. Everybody's not pleased. There's always going to be those who are not pleased with something that's going on. I just believe it should have been in a better area with less liability. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan.
Eric, can you restate the question, please?
Sure. What is your position on the canine corral?
Okay. Seeing as how the board has already approved it, my position really is, I think it's a great amenity for the complex. I agree that the location is not the best. There are liability issues. There are logistical issues, but the bottom line is the board's already approved it. Unless the board, which I doubt will happen under any circumstances, reverse its position and do away with it, I think it's kind of a moot issue. So, you know, I will not utilize it with our pet, our dog, but that's personal to us. You know, I think having one is a great amenity to the complex. If we want to rehash the entire thing, then we go back and we talk about location and logistics and parking and everything else. But it's a past deal. So I think the question is, do I like the idea? Yeah, I think it's a great idea. But I think we're wasting our time rehashing it at this point. That's my opinion.
Okay. Thank you, Alan. Hold on one sec, Kathy. Okay, Kathy.
Okay, I would say that I pretty much agree with what everybody has said. I think that in addition to it being a transparency issue with the canine corral, I think it's also a communication issue. And I know they kind of go both hand in hand. I believe that had we notified homeowners, had the committee that was tasked to find a suitable place for the canine corral been allowed to complete their task, we may have found a little bit better place to put the canine corral. I believe that we were a little hasty with the anonymous donation to put it. I understand why they put it where they did. I look at the fact that now we have to landscape that part on Breckenridge, meaning that it's no longer an endangered species area or an area that we can't touch. So putting the canine corral there was an open space that we don't have to go and landscape. I do believe that we have to landscape both sides of it still, which means bringing water and electricity down there. So that may help with some of the things with the canine corral. But I do believe that residents should have been made aware prior to the board voting on it. I went back and I did a little bit of fact finding and looked at different old Breeze magazines and looked at community planning and transition, and in every article it just stated that they were looking for a spot. So I think maybe a little bit better communication once we just decided on a spot would have been a lot more helpful to the community. And I think that most people would have looked at it as a benefit and maybe looked at it a little bit differently if they were told what we were thinking about doing versus what we are going to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Jolene.
Yes. Canine corral. I would like to state that there was a lot of research put into this. I know that people seem to think that it happened overnight, but I personally walked 15 locations in this community, drove around and mapped out where the suggestions and the thinking was that were possible places that we could put the canine corral. No matter where we were going to end up putting it, we were going to have some homeowners that may have not been happy with where it landed. There's a large group of people, and I personally don't have a dog, so I have no vested interest in having it in the community. But I know that there's a large group of people in this community that have worked for very, very many years to have a dog park. It's something they've wanted for a long time, and they've done a lot of research and worked very hard and worked with the board and asked them to do this for them. There was research done. There was looking at the community. So I know that we have some unhappy people, and I hope we can work through some mediation with these people to work out something to make them more comfortable. Some of the issues that are raised, the canine corral is looking at the issues with insurance and dogs and what liability there can be. All these issues are being reviewed before we will actually open this dog park to the community. So that is not something that we are ignoring. That is something we're going to work through. And I hope that we can make this a good amenity for a large number of people in this community that have desired it.
Thank you, Jolene. Hold on, Lila, one sec. All right, Lila.
Okay, I'm going to be really upfront and honest about this dog park. The first time I heard about it is when I attended one of the board meetings. Other than that, I had no idea a dog park was even being considered or anyone donated money to have one. And I've also talked to a couple other people that have said the same thing. So once again, that goes under communication, being able to communicate or should communicate with all of us here to let us know what's going on. And the way it sounds like this dog park was already decided no matter what, and it's still going to be, open regardless. But my concerns are the safety for, the dogs. If one of those dogs get out that gate and they run into the street and someone's coming through that gate or coming around the corner, they could get hit, or even the resident can get hit. Then also the liability is a great concern that I have. If another dog bites another dog or bites the resident, who will be responsible? Will the resident even want to sue the HOA? So where does that stand with that? And how will it affect our dues? If the committee does not have the monies they need to take care of the dog park, or if they need money even alone and they can't pay it back, then what happens? And the location, to me, is definitely not the place it should be. This community is completed now. It's big. We have the 3 locations: residents in the lodge area, residents in the summit area, residents in the courts area. When there's events at the court, there's hardly any parking. So that means parking will have to be done on the side of the street where the dog park is located, also around the corner. Most people, have a problem walking a short distance, let alone walking further to bring their dog to their dog park. So that means they will have to drive. And that's going to do what? It's going to create a jam there in the community for that park. Then I also look at the size of the dog park. I think, surveys are good to pass around. I guess I'll have to continue to come back because I really have some deep feelings about the dog park.
All right, thank you, Lila.
Patient. Okay.
Hold on, let me get to Pete. One sec, Pete. All right, Pete, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect.
In reference to the canine dog park, I personally am not a dog owner, although I like dogs. I think it's a great idea. However, we have to look at some key issues. What I'm looking for is a win-win situation. Being in law enforcement, security is of a high priority to me. So therefore, we have security that we have to be concerned about, liability and responsibility, not ruling that any of these things cannot be accomplished. We must have responsibility and rules. The insurance must be looked at. From what I understand, from what I'm hearing, I have seen the dog park, and from what I'm hearing is that there's been a lot of research that has gone into it. However, there still may be more research that's needed. Again, what we've been trained to do in my profession is to look for a win-win situation. And if possible, that's what I would hope to accomplish in reference to the canine park. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Pete. Hold on one sec, Bob. All right, Bob. Are you there?
Okay, the thing about being last, everybody stole my thunder. So I agree with 99% of everybody with what they said. The dog park, I do not have a dog. My neighbors have dogs, and they have all told me they would not take their dog to the dog park. Mostly I would think it'd be because of liability. Okay, my understanding, like others, said, okay, the dog park's here, there's nothing we can do it unless you can reverse it, which would be something to look into. Nothing's set in concrete. My problem is with the location, just like everybody else. Sound travels upwards. So those people up on the ridge there, they're paying the price for that dog park down there. Parking, the courts is way too small. Somebody already pointed it out. Jolene talked about several areas. This is the only place I'm going to step out different than everybody else. I think the ideal location for the dog park would be at the summit. You're looking at the summit, and it'd be to the right of the building. You have a nice flat space. It's grass there. There's plenty of parking. There's restrooms. There's electricity. Yes, you have houses to the far right, but you have a barranca there, which would muffle some of the sound. Also, you have trees and shrubs there to muffle some of the sounds for those homeowners. And you're only talking 2, 3. Yes, they're going to be upset having it there. Maybe not. Maybe they all have dogs and it's real close to them. But that's where I would put it. The Breckenridge is definitely not safe, liability for what everybody said. And that's pretty much my feeling on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. All right, so now I'm gonna pull a name. And the question. So the first person is Alan Coblin. And let's see, let me unmute you and then I can read the question. Oh, where'd you go? Hold on. All right, Alan. So the question is, are you willing to allow residents to have access to some of the facilities when First Service is closed or has shortened hours for holidays? They're referring to the outdoor facilities such as the pickleball courts, paddle tennis courts, basketball courts, putting green, etc.
I'm sorry, we're talking about residents?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I'm totally in favor of that. I think the residents should not be, their access should not be limited to the working hours of the management company. Specifically, weekends, early evenings, things like that. So, no, I don't think they should be limited.
Okay, thank you. Next person is going to be Kathy. Let me get to you, Kathy, 1 second. Oop, wrong person. Kathy, the question is, do you believe you understand how this HOA operates and what the key issues are that must be met in the next year?
I do. I believe that some of the key issues that need to be met are, the first one would be us going it alone without CAHOV in here. The money that will be pouring in to fix things or repair things that broke before they left. I believe that it's incumbent upon the board to ensure that, especially with all that's going on out there now, that we keep our home prices up for resale value, since we're all going to be reselling here now. I believe that that's one of the most important things. I believe that the board is also going to need to keep reserves, like I stated earlier, up high. I believe that, just to go a little bit further on that, I believe that keeping those reserves over 100% not only helps with when we have repairs, it's also going to help us with resales in here, because any bank can ask to see what our reserves are. And if they're not high enough, they can also actually decline a loan to somebody. So I would like to see that that's taking place. I also believe that it's incumbent upon the board to ensure that they keep our facilities looking like they look now. I believe that we should, as a board, have more input from our community. I believe, again, that when people stand up there and they are at the podium and they have something they want to say, I believe that the board should respond to them, not necessarily in the meeting, but there should be some follow-up. So that's what I think. And yes, I'm ready for that. I've been on the committee. I'm co-chairing the safety committee, so I understand how things work when there's something that needs to be done, how it goes from one committee to the other. I know it goes from safety to finance. Finance tells us whether they have the money, and then we can take it to the board for a vote after that. So yes, I feel that I'm fully aware. I've donated a lot of my time for safety right now, and I'm willing to donate it for the board as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabby. Next question will be to Barbara Miller. Let me. Hold on one second.
He's drawing question.
Yes. But having issues getting the video to show correctly. One more moment. Barbara, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Eric. Thank
Perfect. All right. The question is, several candidates comment about the financial health of the community in their flyers. Can you give specific examples of your concerns in this area and how you propose to address them?
you. Do it one more time.
Sure. Several candidates comment about the financial health of the community in their flyers. Can you give specific examples of your concerns in this area and how you propose to address them?
Okay, well, number one, we need to keep our existing reserves at 100% plus. And I think our next concern financially, which is going to be substantial, is going to be the conservancy area, which is going to be, from what I hear, approximately $10,000 per year. That would be something that I would not be in favor of doing. I understand that we may lose maybe 2 of the trails that are involved with the conservancy area, but push come to shove, $10,000 a month, we may need to lose a couple of trails and have those people maybe drive to another trail or simply use their sidewalks. So, and our roofing at the lodge and different areas where we've had leaks and all, I'm not totally convinced that there are not some issues where they have not, the builder has not complied with regulations as far as overlapping the tar paper and all, and the number of tiles for the roof footage. So I think that KHOV needs to be financially responsible for at least a portion of our roof's leakage. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. Our next question is for Larry, so let me mute Barbara. Larry, the question is, other than excessive speed and failure to stop at stop signs by some residents, vendors, and delivery persons, are you aware of any additional safety issues facing our residents and our community?
Right off the top, I'm not too aware of any safety other than the speeding and that type of a thing. and obeying the traffic laws, which means stop signs and in that. Boy, I can't, off the top of my head, I don't think I can think of any from a safety standpoint.
Okay. Thank you, sir. The next. Next is going to be Pete. Let me unmute you. And Pete, the question is, if you had to focus on 3 priorities to improve the facilities and common areas, what would those be and why?
3 areas of improvement to the common area.
Yes.
I would say looking out for one another, making sure that the area is policed the way it should, that the water is not being overran in that particular area, that the areas are clean and presentable at all times, that our reserves are in a position to take care of whatever repairs that are necessary in those particular areas, and that we maintain the beauty of the community that which we live in.
Okay. Thank you, Pete. Next question is going to be to Gracie. Gracie, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Make it a good one.
Well, I'm trying to. There we go. All right. Let me see. The question is, if you are elected, what would you like to see the board do that they are not currently doing for the community?
Would you repeat that one more time?
Sure. If you are elected, what would you like to see the board do that they are not currently doing for the community?
I would like to see the board be more transparent, because at this time, and I've stated this before, I do not believe that we have enough transparency with our board. And I would like to see people treat each other a little bit better here. We have a diverse community. I wish and would want everybody to be treated equally in every respect. And the other thing that I have a little bit of a problem with, and I don't know if this really pertains to, the board itself, is our next door at Four Seasons thing over the internet. We get a lot of misinformation here, and I think the board really needs to look into Nextdoor, and any of the board electees should answer some of these questions that are incorrect and things that are going around on Nextdoor. I rarely see a board member get on to Nextdoor. I don't get on Nextdoor. I sit and watch it. I've said a couple things on it, but I think a board member should every once in a while check it out and try to be transparent and get the right things out instead of rumors. Okay.
Thank you, Gracie.
Because Nextdoor is terrible. There's not one board.
And we're getting lower on who to pull for. This will be Lila. Let me unmute you. And can you hear me, Lila?
Yes.
Okay. The question is, during this pandemic, were you able to do anything within our community that was helpful to another? And please explain what that is that you may have done.
Mainly support as far as staying safe in the community as well as out the community. and also sharing information about the virus and how it has affected the Riverside area just alone, and also Beaumont. So I've tried to, share information that I have received with the other neighbors here in the community that hopefully would help them be and stay safe.
Great. Thank you, Lila. All right. Let's see. Next is Robert Allen. Let me get back to you, sir. All right, let me pull your question. Your question is, please provide some detail on your decision-making process. What methods, tools, and resources will you use to gather data and facts to inform your decisions? What standards will you apply to sharing detailed results of data gathering with the community to fulfill the need for transparency?
Well, the first thing I would do is listen to both sides. Obviously, whatever comes across the board has already been researched. So you do have your pros and your cons. So I would listen to both sides. The research for that particular, if you don't know it firsthand, there's a zillion ways to figuring out what it is. Just Googling is still a good source, and you could get more information and be brought up to speed on it. But the biggest thing I would do is listen to both sides and make a determination from that.
Thank you. So the last person would be Jolene. Yep, Jolene. And let me unmute you. And so your question.
Make it good, Eric, since
Yeah.
it's the one.
Let's see. My question is, in 2017, we were named one of the top 55 plus communities. What do we need to do as a community to regain that status?
Well, I'm not sure that we have lost that status. I think that those campaigns and those information about best communities, I think we're still considered a very well-run community. I think that to keep that kind of status, you have to have a fiscally well-run community that has good reserves, good that the facilities are kept in good repair, that the landscaping is kept in good repair. And I think we've worked very hard here to make sure that that happens, that when people drive through the gate, they're amazed by what they see and think how beautiful it is. And I think that we need all of those things to help keep us as a good community. It's about the people, it's about the finances, it's about the reserves, it's about interaction between the community and the board and the committees and the different groups that keep this community well run.
Thank you. Okay, so that was all the questions. So now we'll go back through. Everybody will have 2 minutes to either answer a question that you weren't asked, that was asked to somebody else, or / your closing statement. And we'll go through randomly again from the items. And Robert Allen is first. I'm ready when you are, sir.
Okay. Two items were brought up. One of them was, what did I do during this crisis with the virus and that? As the neighborhood watch captain, I sent out an email to everyone on the block that I had their email address. And I sent them a little note. I said, please do me a favor and check on every neighbor to the right of you. And if you're at the end of the street, go across the street and just check and make sure your neighbor is fine. Find out if the person has enough supplies. Do they need something? Do they have your phone number that they could reach you? Do they need transportation somewhere? So I sent that out to the entire block, and I did get a couple of favorable responses. The next thing was brought up, what would you do that needs to improve some of the facilities? The number one thing that came up was improving the amphitheater. I believe that's an accident waiting to happen as we are aging and getting up and down there. Plus, the size of it is so small. I think that could be moved. I think the concerts could be held up above into the green belt right behind the lodge. And we could make other use of the amphitheater. So those are the two things. I do appreciate this time. Eric, I like your shirt. I don't know where we could get those. Yeah, unless you're special, but you are. Anyway, but thank you for your time, and I appreciate it, and good luck to all the other candidates. And if I'm not among you, I hope you do a good job and take well care of our community. Thank you, and stay safe.
Thank you. Let's see. So the next candidate would be, or will be, Barbara Miller. Let me get you unmuted. All right, Barbara, are you there?
Hi, I'm here. One of the issues that I wanted to share was the existing board dissolved the Rules and Regulation Committee recently, and the board members have taken upon themselves to write and pass new guidelines for our community. This process to me is not appropriate. Our residents need a committee to obtain clarification as to why a guideline was written, suggest a guideline to be written to suggest a guideline to be written for fairness or for a safety issue. There are times when a guideline needs to be amended, other times a guideline needs to be written, but always Rules and Reg committee members should listen to all views and research before acting on an issue. All suggested amended or new guidelines need to be presented to residents for their input. I want to reinforce my thought that we need to maintain our existing 100% reserves. I would like to also say that I feel Four Seasons should not be the gathering place for other 55 and over communities. With build out, we have plenty of residents active in our clubs, groups, and classes without bringing in regular, and I'm stressing regular outside visitors to participate in our weekly or monthly activities. We all pay a monthly fee which covers reserved expenses, but we do not need to subject our association to possible lawsuits from regular outside guests. Solera, Sun Lakes do not encourage outside guests, and we at Four Seasons need to follow their protocol. I do want to touch on the K9, where Martha Baumgartner and her committee has spent hours and hours and hours going over the protocol, the guidelines, researching for the K9 corral, and the location I know is not ideal, but I think we need to give her credit for being as conscientious as humanly possible for this dog park to happen. Hearsay is from a member on the committee is that the electricity and the water is going to be at the expense of that committee, and it may take them quite a few years to gather that money, that it's not coming from our general fund pot, so to speak. So this is something that those people are going to have to come up with on their own.
Barbara?
We live in a beautiful community, great facilities, and I enjoy being here. And if you can give me your vote, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. 1 second. Next will be Larry Workman. Let me unmute you. Okay, Larry.
Okay, I'm going to start with back to my question that you had earlier was on safety, and I was focusing more on the traffic, but I also, well, after I thought, security kind of comes in there too. So safety and security, it's not really traffic stop, but it is safety, because if somebody were to come in here and break into houses and things like that, that's a certain amount of safety. So I think we do need to address the access of non-residents into the community, how we can improve that, improve the restriction of having non-residents in here. I even noticed on Nextdoor a while back that somebody from our neighbors across the street, across Highland Springs, was boasting about how they come over to the bistro every so often to eat. I don't think that is the type of things that we want to have in here. During the crisis, yes, I have been working with Eric and Chris and Lori on the website, getting up-to-date information on the website for everybody on what is happening with the COVID-19 and helping get some of the activities that Cindy has been putting out. The amphitheater, I agree. We need to really focus on getting that amphitheater enlarged, but also at the same time, we need to focus a little bit on keeping it for residents, or at least restricting it to non-resident attendance, so that residents do have some first run at that. Then the last thing, I think one of the important things that we need to get the working residents that are in this community to become more active. And I propose meetings, or at least once in a while have the board meeting in the evening so that they can attend. So those are the types of things that I want to address if I am elected.
Thank you, Larry. Next will be Jolene. Let me get back to you. Oop, oh. All right, Jolene.
Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
I'd like to take the opportunity, we haven't really talked about this very much, but all the wonderful things that management has done to help the board with our coronavirus situation and having to close down our facilities and change things up for the current time. It's taken a lot of time with my board members and I to review what we needed to do and stay connected to determine what was the best way to go. And I really appreciate all that management has done to help us make this a safe environment for our people while this situation's going on. I would just like to further say that I think it's important that we keep our reserves and our finances in a good position. I think our finance committee has done a fantastic job. I think communication is really important, and I know there's a lot of talk about transparency. And I think on the board side, we try really hard to do as much as we can to get as much information out there as we can. But I think communication takes part between both sides of the equation, and I would love to see more participation by those that live in our community in both our clubs, our groups, our committees, and even as board members. The more people that get involved in our community and the more communication there is between our community and board, the better we can make this place to be a wonderful place to live. And I think it's a great place to live, and I would really like the opportunity to continue to use my background and my expertise to keep this community well run. Thank you.
Hey, Jolene. Next is Lila Bonner. One sec. Lila, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just kind of want to go back with the dog park because I didn't state that I have been a dog animal owner, period, dog, cat, bird. And so with that being said, the safety is so important to me as far as having the dog park. and also considering, you know, it's one thing to walk your animal, your dog, but it's another when they're all together. So it's so many things that has to be looked at and talked about, such as their behaviors, the safety, and the location. I'm not against the dog park. I just think the dog park should be in a more centralized location where residents can get to it from around the lodge area just as well as around the courts area. But I think a lot of things need to be, you know, considered. I don't know if the decision can be reversed or not. I think the decision was made very hastily, and I do not think the residents that live above that dog park was given the respect that they should have been given as far as being notified or communicated with. And so to me, that's a problem that hopefully will not continue to go on, because we need to communicate with the residents. The residents also need to come and communicate with us and let us know their concerns and, you know, their issues. As far as the Safety and Rules Committee, Regulations Committee, I was going to be on that, but the committee, you know, stopped. I would love to see that committee started up again, because it does help maintain our home values. Rules and regulations are necessary. You have them in your homes as well. We need them here in our community. And I just want to thank everyone so much. And I'm just glad that I had this opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Lila. Next is Alan Coughlin. Let me get you unmuted. And there we go. Are you there, sir?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Gee, I have to repeat something I said earlier. I'm very impressed with all of the candidates. It shows tremendous commitment and dedication and awareness, involvement. I think it's great. You know, I also want to clarify something on me. I've been on the board of directors of 2 homeowners associations in the last, 30 years. So I have some experience and I have some knowledge of it. In addition to a property management background, I have degrees, that kind of thing. But I'm not moving. I hope to get elected to this position. If I don't, I'm not moving. I'm going to be here for forever, I hope. So that's number one. Number two, a comment was made about the status of this 55+ community and how great we were in 2017. I moved here in 2018 because of the billboard we saw on the freeway, walked in the door and fell in love with this place. I have family in Ohio and Florida, and they've heard of this place. And they said only wonderful things about it. So I would agree with Jolene's comment. I think we still are the best there is. You know, really, you know, that's it. I'm impressed with the enthusiasm and the cast of characters here. The other 9 people, I really want to commend all of them. I wish they could all get elected, and of course myself too. So, and yes, I think you guys do a great job too. So that's it for me. I'm just happy to be here, and think we can continue to be as great as we are.
Thanks, Alan. Next is Kathy Craven.
Okay, a couple things I wanted to go back and talk about. One of the questions that was asked was about safety. Other than the stop signs and the speeding, that's pretty much a given. We hear that all the time. A couple of the other things are, we have a trail that's on the easement that we're looking to try to get flattened a little bit more for safety reasons, because it's a little bit treacherous and a little bit steep to have people walking on that. One of the other things is, when the builder built this place, and they did a great job, they made the trees look like they were had been there a long time. It didn't look brand new. Some of those trees, particularly the pine trees, really need to be trimmed back. And I would definitely say that we need to start thinning those out a little bit so that we don't have a fire hazard, especially coming in the Breckenridge gate. One of the other things is the codes at the gate. I think it's great that we are at a point where we have one gate that only has a code for people to come in, because I think a lot of times people gave their codes out and people were able to just come in and enter into our community and utilize everything, whether they lived here or not. So I think that's great. I also would like to even go one step further and look a little bit at possibly manning one of the gates, not both of them, but one of them 24 hours, so that we could have an attendant there. I know it's not security, but I can tell you that in the past, I do look at the Beaumont crime stats, and I can tell you that here in Four Seasons, we have far less crime than anywhere else in the city. So that's a big plus. And the gate and the four walls around us do help that. So I'd also like to clarify back on the guest policy that the policies that are in place right now, they do work as far as the 6 guests per household. I'm not involved in that in any club other than maybe cards here or there that has ever had any guests come in. So I'd like to say that we could go back and address that, not get rid of it, but look at how many people are actually coming in. And the last thing is, too late?
No, it's past the 2 minutes.
Okay, I just then in closing, I'd like to say I'd respectfully ask for your vote, and I thank you for taking the time to hear us all. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Pete, let me get you unmuted. Are you there, Pete?
I'm here.
Okay.
In closing, thank you very much for your support. I believe in protect and serve. You can approach me at any time. Talent is what we have here. We have a winning team, and that's what makes this community great. We have a win-win team. I believe in being fair and treating all with respect. Thank you very much for your vote. God bless you. I love you. Thank you to all the candidates and for participating. Thank you, Eric, for your support and all the things that you do for us. God bless you. Love you.
Thanks, Pete. And so last will be Gracie. Let me get you unmuted. One sec.
Okay. Am I on?
You're on? Yep.
Okay. I like to address the safety here in our community. Just 1 minute on that. If you see something, say something. We are not 100% secure here. There's no 55 and over. That is 100% secure. That also includes, I might add, that includes Sun Lakes across the street where my husband and I have rental homes. This past week during the rain, one of our renters called us and let us know that 3 doors down from them, a homeless person was sleeping on their steps. They get over just by climbing the wall off of Highland Springs. So even with all their security, they do have some problems also. But if you see something, say something. I think that's really, really important. We do live in the best community. We started out looking all the way up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and worked our way all completely down the California coast. And this is the best community. We have great management. And I think that the board will be wonderful. Whoever gets on the board out of the 10 of us, of course, I'd love to see all 10 of us get on. But I really would love your vote. And if you don't vote for me, you can vote for anybody else because they're all qualified. And again, I thank everybody for your support. And in closing, I just want to let everybody know that everything that I will do if I am elected to this board will be for the benefit of our community and our residents here at Four Seasons. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gracie. So just as a final couple reminders, the ballots were mailed on Thursday, last Thursday and last Friday, so all the ballots have been mailed. The district meetings where the ballots are going to be counted are Monday, May 11th, started at 9 a.m. and will continue on Tuesday, May 12th at 9 a.m. And then the annual meeting and the election will be held on Thursday, May 14th at 1 p.m. in the ballroom, and probably on Zoom and YouTube Live if we're still under quarantine. And with that, we'll finish this meeting. Let me stop the recording. Thank you all for your participation while we go through Zoom all together.